Okay, great, thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to the Westport Board of Health, June 24th, 2024 meeting, which I am calling to order. Under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, this meeting is being recorded. And please join me in the first allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll start with the director's written report. Any questions on that?
None for me, Madam Chair.
Okay, go ahead with your verbal report, Matt.
So as a reminder, annual transfer station stickers are required as of July 1st. Stickers are now on sale at the transfer station and Board of Health office. You can purchase those at the transfer station by check or money order only. The transfer station does not accept cash. Also, composters are for sale at the transfer station. The price of a new age composter bin is $34.53. That price includes tax. In order to purchase a composter, please go to the transfer station with a check or money order made out to the town of Westport. This item is not available at the Board of Health office. It cannot be purchased with cash. Due to an increase in recycling of cardboard, an additional covered container was purchased. The container was delivered on June 20th. We got it just kind of tucked in an odd spot at the moment until we figure out how we're going to rearrange things. Is when we can deal with the scout area a little bit on that. The public health nurse offers a weekly blood pressure clinic on Wednesdays from 8:30 to 11:30. Clinics are held at the nurse's office located on the first floor at the Town Hall Annex building at 856 Main Road here in Westport. Annual town meeting approved funds to hire a part-time animal control officer. We're still waiting to meet with the personnel board to get the position, job description and wages approved. After that is complete, we can meet with the select board to review and get permission to post the position. Our ACO is working hard to maintain coverage for the town. However, to get the coverage the town needs, we have to have a second ACO. I mean, Nick is doing a fantastic job. He's, working a lot of hours, and but long term, I wouldn't be practical to just keep having them do that. So second officer is needed. I know I read this last one into the last couple meetings, but it's important. The Bristol County Mosquito Control Project has begun spraying for mosquitoes. The spraying occurs between the hours of 2 a.m. and sunrise, pending weather conditions. Temperatures need to be above 55 degrees during those hours for applications to be made. You can make a request by calling the Bristol County Mosquito Control Project at 508-823-5253, extension 1, or email them at requestbristolmcp@comcast.net. Please keep in mind that the Bristol County Mosquito Control does not enter private property. Spraying is done from the truck along the street in front of the property. Residents can find information on their website at www.mass.gov/EEA/Bristol County Mosquito Control, including a tentative spray schedule for which towns are done each day. Also, a daily and updated list for streets and names will be posted for residents to see if their location is on the schedule for the following spray day. All this information is weather dependent and can change if needed due to the mosquito populations and virus detections. The Board of Health has begun the process of digitizing our files. The benefits to digitizing our files will be increased efficiency, easier collaboration, and enhanced accessibility. Another major benefit is the ability to free up physical space. And the cost for this service will be paid from through the PHE grant. The fish consumption advisory at South Tupper Pond we received on May 23rd, 2024 is still in effect. A public health advisory was posted along the pond. Please visit the Board of Health webpage for more details.
go to director approved plans.
Okay, we have a 3-bedroom repair on a 108,900 square foot lot located at 849 Pine Hill Road for Christopher and Cindy Dumays, utilizing the Presby system. It's been through Concom. We have a 3-bedroom repair on a 16,202 square foot lot located at 3 Richmond Pond Drive for Paul Baker. This is going to be a Presby and a Microfast. It's been through Concom. This one is replacing a cesspool, and this one will need to be deed restricted.
And that's the D-night version of it.
Yes. The 45 D-night version. We have a 2-bedroom repair on a 135,036 square foot lot located at 205 Fisherville Lane for Paul Schmid. This one's going to be utilizing a stone bed. It has not been put through Concom, and it's not replacing a cesspool. And this one will also need to be deed restricted. We have a 3-bedroom new construction on a 39,900 square foot lot at 329 Tickle Road for 7 property management, stone bed and the Microfast system. It's been through Concom, and this will also need to be deed restricted. We have a 3-bedroom repair on a 181,622 square foot lot located at 237 Gifford Road, Unit 1 for Sequoia Holdings. This one's going to be a quick 4, and it's been through Concom. Lastly, we have a 6-bedroom new construction on 147,380 square foot lot, 167 to 169 Hicksbridge Road for Edward Keene, utilizing a quick 4 and a Microfast. And this one has been through Concom.
I have one question.
Yes.
How does the property at Fisherville Lane with 135,000, square feet lot size and 2 bedrooms require a deed restriction? What's the deed restriction for?
Because Title V says you have to design to a minimum of a 3-bedroom system.
Oh,
But you
okay.
can design to 2, but you have to deed restrict it if you do
Okay.
that. And I did put I sent a message out to Brett and Arthur on that, a few months back. And I questioned the same question you asked, and they said you absolutely have to deed restrict it. It doesn't make much sense to me, I guess, but I'm sure there's a reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
Question is, why didn't you install it?
Right, especially in person.
Exactly.
Then maybe because of the engineer, who knows. I'll just note that both for the 205 Fisherville Lane and 329 Tickle Road, those were in our database as unknowns, potential cesspools. So they're off our list. We're whittling away at the unknown list, so that's great. Okay, I will take a motion. We'll need deed restrictions as recorded here, plus the Concom review and the D-night testing as, again, for the Microfast ones.
Do you want me to do that for you?
Well, you want me to just say so moved?
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded, and just to be clear for Bob, do you need us to, what level of detail do you need?
I gave them one.
Okay. All the Microfasts will need the, total nitrogen testing,
The 2 new constructions.
2 new constructions, as well as the Richmond Pond job.
B and D.
The deeds are 3 Richmond Pond, 205 Fisherville, and 320 Tickle. And the Concom is 205 Fisherville.
Isn't Hicksbridge Road in TNT too?
Yes,
It's new
yep,
construction, yeah.
yep.
Okay.
Okay, so motion made and seconded to approve or endorse all those plans approved by the director. All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous, thank you. As I mentioned to Matt, I have a question about the Gifford Road one, but Mr. Potter was the engineer, so I'm going to ask him when he arrives. But it doesn't impede the approval. Okay, then we can move on to other business. I'm going to turn the first agenda item about the hazard mitigation plan to Phil for an update.
Okay. So there is a proposal that is now moving ahead for the town to develop a hazard mitigation plan which will update the plan that was prepared 20 years ago and is going to be led by a consulting company that was hired as part of the Southeast Regional Planning Authority, and a team is being put together. I'm a member of that team for the Board of Health, and currently there's also a member of the Planning Board, the Fire Chief, and the Chief of Police. And the idea is to update all the data that would relate to vulnerabilities that the town has as a result of various natural, I would say, and at this point in time, kind of climate-induced hazards that the town needs to prepare for and have a response mechanism in place. So part of it is the data collection around that and understanding vulnerable infrastructure, homes, what the, and kind of across the board of where the town may be vulnerable. There is an extensive public comment process that is proposed with this, a whole series of meetings which would take place in anticipation of the development of the plan, during the process of the plan, and I think then at the conclusion of the planning process, a final report would be developed. That would be reviewed by and approved by the Select Board. It would then go to the state's Emergency Management Authority. They would approve that, and all this is kind of then tied back to FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Authority. And this initiative is just kind of one of the balls that are up in the air about this topic, because for the last almost 2 years now, there's been a climate resiliency committee that is kind of doing a similar analysis and looking at issues. And then I was just recently informed there's an evacuation planning committee that is also in the process of just kind of getting kicked off, that is specifically focused on, areas or, again, infrastructure, homes, businesses that in which evacuation plans needed to be updated and made sure that they were put in place, and whatever was needed was made available. So some of these maybe more short term, and some of these maybe 5-year go out over a period of time in order to develop a robust enough mitigation plan. So stay tuned. You'll be hearing a lot about hazards.
It certainly, do you know if the highway department's on that?
Not yet, I don't know, but
It feels like there should be a broader net cast.
Well, just to say, I don't want to call it the core group, but anyway, I'm meeting with Mike Burris from planning just to have our own one-on-one discussion on Thursday.
Okay.
So the first meeting of this team has not been set yet. And
How many people are on this team?
right now there's only 4 of us.
I mean, there's that infrastructure committee, there's...
Yeah, which is different than the Climate Resiliency Committee,
Right.
which, has a broader focus in some ways, because it's, looking at agriculture, for example, as impacts to agriculture as a result of climate change. Whereas I think, that the first topic of this is going to be, storm surge, sea level rise, those kinds of things, because we've been talking about high heat events as being a health hazard, and I don't think that's previously been addressed in the mitigation plan going back to 2020. And there's issues around, power, if power is out, if poles get knocked down, all those kinds of things. So I agree. I think that the highway department, has to be a part of that. But, so I'm going to talk about that with Mike when I meet with him as to whether or not this is the group or, but it's equally possible just as a matter of efficiency where, the team is going to meet with the highway department and the team's going to meet with, the Council for Aging and is going to meet with various people without
I was gonna say
saying,
that
come
has
to
to be
meetings
included in
come to these meetings, which are going to happen during office hours, which again might make it more difficult for some people to find the time to do that,
Well,
including the
yeah.
director,
Well,
because other things are going on. So I think, it may just be,
reach out that way.
yeah, exactly, and I'm sure the consultant's going to be meeting with all those groups just in terms of, data collection, from the highway department in particular, or Council on Aging. Those people don't just understand what the available resources are now, and what do they think they need based on various scenarios that get played out.
Yeah. I didn't hear you mention, but I would say, because there was one of the rainstorms earlier this spring going down Drift Road near the head of Westbrook. It was pretty flooded.
Yeah.
And it's those high rain events, more extreme rain events,
Right,
are going to be
yeah.
more frequent, and we have a lot of low-lying areas, like a bridge over that the Westport East Branch.
Yeah. And there are a lot of, kind of high tides that flooded out a lot of docks too. So definitely,
And so make that work.
Yeah.
And my concern would be, and that's why when you said the Council on Aging, is where our seniors are that are homebound that would need assistance, who are the people that live in town that aren't mobile, and we need to get to them quickly, so.
right, yeah.
And the
And even
Council on
just our
Aging
communication
generally-
systems about things.
What's that?
Or just our communication systems
Yeah.
about things.
Sure.
How do you even inform people?
Yeah.
Given all the different kind of media and people's familiarity with, or a lack of familiarity with, different media and that kind of stuff.
I'm just wondering, well,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure we all got the phones screaming at us when 911 went down, and whether
Oh, yeah,
whether
right.
there's a way for that to
Yeah,
happen
yeah.
in our particular area for people who live in this area.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's certainly.
So it's a good thing, because we're looking at a plan that's 20 years old now, and so it's very timely and, in that sense, and also because of what the climate committee has been doing. I'm hoping it will kind of get integrated in and be kind of consistent, and we won't have to be reinventing the wheel.
Well, other than Michael and you, who else, is there anybody else on the Climate Resilience Committee that's part of this group?
No, not at this point. But there are a number of, so with Michael representing the planning board, so there are lead people like Bob Daler, who's on the planning board, is also the head of the infrastructure committee.
Right.
So there's
Okay.
overlap.
Yeah.
I think it's just as long as we don't have a lot of duplicity.
And how is it that you became part of this group, Phil? Because I don't know how that happened.
Oh, because Matt got invited, and Matt said, because it's happening during business hours, that he just did not have the bandwidth to be attending the meetings, and because I was plugged in to the CRC seemed to make sense to
Okay.
do that. But I'm just that kind of guy.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any other board member updates you want to share while we have the floor?
So, the other thing we have been talking about, and I've been talking to Matt about, is our initiative to update our well, our private well regulations, and so Matt and I both have been looking at what other towns have been doing, primarily on the southeast and the Cape. And I think we're, at the point, or what I think the next step would be, is just to get a sense of, or clear sense of, what it is we want to accomplish with this, and an understanding that, I don't want to call it a bell curve, because that's the right sense, but if you were looking at kind of the scope and level of detail and degree of process in order to get approval to install the well, we're like on the left side of the curve, which has been generally fine, there's, but, and then there's maybe the Department of Environmental Protection is at the other side of the curve, a lot of detail, not only about basic, what we would consider basic stuff, but all sorts of detail about how do you construct the well, and how do you construct different kinds of wells, and all that other kind of stuff. And then there's a lot of cities and towns more or less in the middle. And I think it's things that we've discussed informally that maybe we should be there. I mean, we don't actually even have a permit to install a well. We don't have a permit process. And I think our well regulations is very, very closely tied to our septic regulation in the way that it's implemented. And so, and then we all sorts of new contaminants that are, so I think if we just kind of I think if the board as a whole kind of gave Matt and I some direction about where we kind of want to be, how we're okay with this but we don't really want to get into this level of detail, that would be helpful in then developing a draft that we could actually look at and even just do it in sections, in the sense of, okay, what's the administrative part of it? What's the plan part of it? What do we want to do for water quality testing? Do we want to integrate the different pieces of the regulation into one regulation, or like right now we have water quality test, a permit test, and we have a couple of other pieces, and just get those general consensus. So, which is all my way of saying, don't expect the first meeting for us to present you with a draft reg.
Is there enough of sort of those kinds of questions that we should, I think we're going to need a working meeting anyway.
Yeah.
Or do you want, how would you like to get that?
Well, we could just carve out a piece of that, and, just look at a topic piece of it, and just kind of look at it in the way that kind of reflects I'll step back. First, I didn't understand, and I'm not sure I really fully understand actually how we're doing it now. And I've talked a little bit, to Matt about it and to Nancy about it. And then, well, there's a bunch of really big picture questions that we could answer, and then we could drill down a little bit, into an example of like the permit. Do we want to have a permit process? And then we could talk about some examples and things like that. Anyway.
Maybe it might help to have an outline of sort of those topic areas for us that we'll look at in advance, and then
I'm working on it right now.
Okay.
I was going to hand it out, but I thought, no.
Okay, we have just a couple of minutes, we'll come back after our appointments maybe and schedule that working meeting. Anything else you want to raise?
No.
Okay.
Just that we were a visible presence at the Watershed River Day, talking about how we protect people from all kinds of things based on that.
I would just like,
That poster you had, and that we talked about how what we're doing is protecting the river, or helping protect the river, and the summer threats to people's health, so.
I would just say, you know, I appreciated just all the information that got organized, you know, all the handouts for people. Many, you know, people would come and take stuff even though I didn't talk to them. And people particularly like the mosquito bands, wristbands.
Yes,
Thanking
Yeah,
them for
but,
ordering those.
You know, I thought in terms of the kind of event it was and how all that information was put together for people, I thought it was really good, just as coming onto it myself, not knowing all the preparation you guys have done. You guys. So that's good. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll just mention quickly, I visited the Little Compton transfer station to observe their food composting operation because we've had a request from a resident to consider food composting. And so I talked to the employee there to get some feedback as to how it's going. And so that's something that when things settle down at the transfer station, there are a lot of things in flux right now. We might revisit that and see if that's something, it would cost the town something, or maybe we'll just boot that idea of food composting to, the outfit also does pickups, you know, at homes, and you would pay, you as a resident would pay for that if you wanted to participate. So that might be the way to go. But anyways, that's just still percolating, so to speak. And the other thing we've talked about is tight tank regulation, about sort of managing that more proactively, given the risks associated with those popping out of the ground in vulnerable areas. And so we're working on a draft for discussion at a working meeting. So we'll schedule that. Mr. Porter, don't leave, because I'm going to call. Okay.
He's so shy.
Yes, he doesn't know how to talk to us. He's not like, you know.
All right, well, we'll wait for Mr. Potter to return, because I'm sure he would like to present.
Did you get the wrong plans?
Okay, well, I guess he's just going out to his truck and well, then while we're waiting, you want to try to schedule that?
Yeah, that's why I pulled this out.
I would say wait until after the 4th of July. But,
That's fine. Sure.
but it could be earlier.
Yeah.
So we have a meeting on the 8th.
Yes.
We schedule it after that later in the week.
We could. So that would be.
Or the week in between that meeting and
Yeah.
the next meeting.
So I know sometimes we try to do Thursday mornings. 11?
That's fine. I think that should be okay.
No, I have a,
Okay. No, don't. That's fine. Friday's not really good. Monday the 15th?
that works for me, but not necessarily for Matt.
Yeah, I don't have anything scheduled now, but hours. Yeah.
15th, not
The
good.
50th is good as long as we can do it early.
Okay. How early? When do you?
Like 9 early.
I could make that work. Is that early? I mean, 9 a.m. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Monday the 15th at 9 a.m. Okay, thank you. Mr. Potter, we are going to call your meeting, so don't sit down. I'm calling the 4:30 p.m. Variance hearing, or LUA hearing actually, I think was presented. 101 Plymouth Boulevard for Donald DeSanti. This is a one-bedroom repair with a quick floor on a 12,330 square feet. With Glenn Potter representing. Yes. DeSanti is here to take over. Okay. Let's start with you.
This 101 requires a variance, distance of the pump chamber to the property line, so I've notified the abutter, and that's the receipt that I mailed it out. Yeah, so I have an existing cesspool located right to the south of the house and shown encircled. And that's all there is here. So what we intend to do is to install a 500-gallon lift station and with a macerator pump and pump that up to a septic tank that is located up near the garage. And that's where the septic system's going to be. So there shouldn't be any issue with that. We need several variances. The soil absorption system and the owner's well is less than 100 feet. Proposed separation is 85 feet.
And this is a well that is off-site, correct?
What's that, please?
The well is off-site?
It's his father, this is Mr. DeSanti, this is his father's lot, this is his lot.
Okay,
It's off-site, it's located, one well serves both houses.
yeah, okay.
The proposed lift station is less than 10 feet from the solar wall, proposed distance is 6. The proposed lift station is less than 10 feet from the property line, proposed distance is 6. That requires a variance. The proposed lift station is less than 25 feet from surface water, proposed distance is 13 feet. So those are the variances we need to accomplish this task. There's no room on the lot, it's really tight. And that's all they can do. But the effluent will be pumped up the hill to a septic tank, then into the leach field, as so. The leach field is designed for 2 bedrooms, as per code. It's only a 1-bedroom house. That's the best we can do.
Okay. Then I'll turn to Matt for his report. Comments?
So everything design-wise is fine, but I know that you might have some questions, so I'm just gonna turn it over to you.
Okay. Well, let me open it up to other board members. Anybody has questions?
I'll defer for, so I hear whatever people have to say.
And I like to defer until I hear what you have to say.
Okay, well, I will start. So this is just a non-engineer kind of question. So the cesspool is right here, right?
Yeah, right here. Yep.
So why are you going downhill to the lift station to pump it even further uphill?
Because I don't have enough, there's a retaining wall, concrete retaining wall right here, and I don't have enough room to get back. In other words, I got enough room to put this tank in down here. I don't have enough room to get around the corner and put it up here. That's the problem. It's logistics.
Okay. So it's got to go a long way, because first it has to go downhill towards the pond,
Yeah.
and then it has to go back uphill, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's gravity going down, but then pumping uphill.
Yep.
Okay, so that was,
I've checked the pump calculations and it's fine.
yeah.
No, I don't see a problem
It just,
with that.
it's, from a layperson perspective,
Right.
it's like,
Well, you know, when we get them sewer lines on Route 6, you're gonna see a lot more of this, let me tell you.
okay.
So get used to it.
Yeah, all right. And then the concern I did have, which I don't know has been mentioned to you, is, of course, our local septic regulation where it's less than 50 feet from a surface water body, meaning the lift station at this point.
Yeah, but that's not a leaching field.
No, but our regulation is any component, I believe, and the way it's worded, so. When reconstruction of a system in existence where, no, that's not it. Any design for repair of a septic system that is required to be sited within 50 feet of a surface water boundary or wetlands bordering the surface water boundary must meet the standards for nitrogen loading limitations. So I want to hear your argument why this would not be.
Just read that again to me.
Sure. Any design for repair of a septic system that is required to be sited within 50 feet of a surface water boundary or wetlands bordering the surface water boundary must meet the standards for nitrogen loading limitations set forth in section 12.
Well, my argument would be that this is not a septic system. It says a repair of a septic system, replacement of a septic system. That's the leaching field up here.
Yeah, well, design for repair of a septic system. Doesn't apply to new constructions for repairs.
No, this is a repair.
Yeah,
I understand that, but that's not leaching. The leaching's up here.
yeah. The reg doesn't define, let's see what it says for septic system. I don't know if it defines it any differently than Title V.
But I can't get 50 feet. It's impossible.
Yeah. Well, I
And it's not,
understand that, and then it's just a question of whether you need to incorporate either a variance request or deny. You know, a local septic variance request.
I'd go for a local septic. I can't see putting D9 in. The thing's way up here. There's no effluent anywhere near the pond. We're taking it away, and we're
That's
moving it up here through great expense, believe me. There's no need to add any more expense to that. They're trying to do the right thing.
All right, well, I'll leave it to my fellow board members how you feel about that. It is a small system, and I don't know, I mean, the effluent is going to be down here, 13 feet from the,
But it's sealed in the tank.
right. So as long as it doesn't fail,
It's an H20 tank. It's not going to fail.
okay.
The cesspool's been in there for how many years?
Since 1950, 51.
Yeah, it's time to go, for
Right.
sure,
Well,
and I
that's what we're trying to do.
appreciate
We're trying
that's
to get
the-
it up,
that's the
we're moving
mission
it
they're
up.
trying to
We're taking it from
accomplish.
here, we're moving it way up there, so,
Right.
Yeah.
but we gotta pump it.
the leaching field, yeah. It is definitely an improvement
Right.
to the existing conditions. So, any comment from other board members? That was the, question I raised.
So, I guess just to go back to that first issue, this is the fact that the Title V definition of a septic system kind of breaks out and includes all the components. So I think that's, and that's why you get into this kind of semantic thing, which is, on the one hand, it's really the leach field that is releasing contaminants, and that's the one you would think you would really focus on. And there are regulations that do that call out leach field or tanks, and then there are others which just gloss over that and just say septic system. But I generally would support an outcome that would not require having a D-type system here, and it could either be to apply that logic here and just treat it as that this is not included as a septic system, or go through the variance. And because the well is not on the property, The property is, south of Tupper Pond is a freshwater pond. Nitrogen is really not an issue for the freshwater pond. They've identified what the problem is in South Watuppa, and it's phosphorus. So, and then it's also the volume because it's a one-bedroom house. So, so I would be more favorably inclined if we didn't want to adopt a confining regulation, just to do it as a variance, and kind of make the case. Because I don't think this poses an environmental harm. I mean, we know it's a benefit because it's removing a cesspool, which would adversely affect Watuppa Pond, and instead they're putting in a modern septic system which will not do that. So, so that's how I would treat it. And I also, just to say that when we adopted this regulation, this particular regulation from the existing regulation, in which the rule was if you were within 50 feet of a surface water body, you had to meet the nitrogen loading requirements of Title V. Well, this site does meet the nitrogen loading requirements of Title V because it's a one-bedroom system and it's got 12,500 square feet, and it's only one bedroom, so they wouldn't have had, under the previous rule, they would
Right.
not have required
Right.
a Title V, they wouldn't have required nitrogen reduction. And for what all made good sense, we took it and, we applied it to the framework that we had under our regulation, which had to do with a totally different standard. So, for all those reasons, I think we might need to go through the process, but that's what I would support the outcome to be.
Okay. Donna, any feedback?
Well, I mean, I certainly appreciate both your thinking on this. I was just wondering if there was any other way we could put this system over here, but it's, again, you're going gravity to pump, so that wouldn't work if that was moved. And it would require some plumbing changes, I believe, if it was moved, which might be
Yeah.
cheaper than D-Nite, but I don't know, for nitrogen reducing.
I mean, just something, which is that in terms of so Title V also has a setback limit for septic tanks and, for leach fields, but it doesn't have a setback for pumping chambers. They break out those aspects of the system. Do you know what I mean? They have that table and for setbacks from septic tanks and setbacks from SAS, and it doesn't have one for pumps, for pump stations. So it wouldn't require a variance under Title V because of its proximity to surface water.
Right.
That's what I'm
So
saying.
that won't require a variance.
Right.
It
I'm
is-
saying
yeah.
that Title V did not impose a 50-foot setback from surface water for pumping chambers. They did for septic tanks, but not for pumping chambers,
Which
which
seems,
to me indicates that they didn't view them as a
no,
threat from that.
septic tank, holding tank.
Oh, I take it back.
No, So we'll strike that comment.
Okay, we'll strike that.
So here's my thought. I can be persuaded that Mr. Potter's argument that why he would pursue a variance instead of a D-Nite, and your argument, Phil, that it's not going to provide the level of benefit that's worth the cost. So here's what I'm suggesting, and I'm willing to accept it after the fact, is that you add a variance request, because you've already notified all the abutters
Yeah.
and their family, so they're in the same, to the to the request.
Yeah,
And then, because from a procedural point of view, it's like, well, you didn't require him to do a variance. You know what, I don't want to get
right,
into that.
right,
Um,
right.
So if that's something that the board members are comfortable with,
I can add it to the plan, no problem. I can list it in the
Sure.
variances in the plan.
yeah, I would be comfortable with that, because I think you've made a strong enough argument in this case.
Believe me, if I didn't have to, I wouldn't do it. I got no choice.
Okay, we would need obviously a one-bedroom deed restriction and the water, 3 years of water testing, hold harmless, and Conservation Commission, correct? Are there
Yes.
any other conditions, plus the added variance, local variance to the plan? Anything else?
Hold harmless, but I think that's,
She said that.
okay,
yeah.
yep, that's it,
Mhm.
yep.
Somebody prepared to make a motion?
I can try. I move that we approve the plan for 101 Plymouth Boulevard, dated 5/28/24, with the variances as written in the plan and the addition of a local, adding a local variance request, with the following conditions: a hold harmless agreement, a one-bedroom deed restriction, 3 years of water testing, and Concom approval. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. Second,
Motion made and seconded to approve the project at 101 Plymouth Boulevard. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous.
All right, just so I'm clear, I want to add a local variance on the plan,
Correct.
and I'll do that with... I'll-
The
I'll-
septic system location
Yeah.
less than 50 feet.
Yep,
Um,
easy enough.
Alrighty. This
Now, you got an extra 101, I didn't bring it. I brought two 105s. Two 101s, that's all.
Okay. So, we're going to call the the hearing for 105 Plymouth Boulevard for Donald and Deborah DeSanti and Christine Root. This is a 3-bedroom repair with a quick floor on a 24,020 square foot lot. Landlord representative, also replacing septic.
Okay, Glenn Potter, Westport Environmental Design for Don DeSanti, 101 Plymouth Boulevard, 105. The house is located down next to the pond, Plymouth Boulevard, way up at the top. You got a retaining wall along the south of Tupper, which defines the border. The cesspool is now located on the north side of the house. So Mr. DeSanti's agreed to replumb the house, the basement, and bring the pipe out the south side into a 2,000-gallon precast tank, 2-compartment tank, 1,500-gallon prime, and a 500-gallon pump chamber, and pump the effluent up to the septic system, which is located up closer to the road. We have a well across the street. I'm 112 feet from that well. Mr. DeSanti's well is 51 feet from the proposed leach field. Let's see, the house up above is a 2-bedroom house, and this is a 3-bedroom house. The main house is 3, so it's 5 bedrooms. And the house up above is a slab, so I'm 11 feet from that. The requirement's 10. There's a cesspool for that upper house shown in that little alcove on the back side of the house. So the sewers are gonna be connected to a tank shown as such. And that's gonna end up sending the effluent over to the distribution box. I don't think that one has a pump. That one's gravity. No, it's not. It's a pump. That's a 2,000-gallon dual compartment tank also. So it's gotta be pumped. The land rises very quickly from the pond all the way up to the road. So trying to get to 50 feet from the well and yada, 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 that's the best we could do. Fortunately, the perk tests aren't bad here, and the water table is very good. Not down here. But the tank is gonna be there and pump it up the hill to to this leaching field, which will serve the two houses. That's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you. Matt?
And here's my plan, but I don't have anything in my list.
Okay, I'll open it up for comments from the board.
So I guess I was just, somewhat concerned in locating a well, down gradient, from the SAS, which was only 50 feet away. And it may be that, locationally there isn't any, option to that, because it's like basically half the distance that it should be. And maybe that you're going to have to do 3 years of well testing, so, maybe that, will evidence, whether or not it's a problem or not, but I just wanted to express my concern about that.
Can you move Litchfield further away?
They'd have to take that tree.
I don't know whether, is the reserve area just in the same location as the,
Yeah.
okay. All right. So, and I guess so I should, I just ask you, Mr. Potter, as to whether or not you would think that over the 3-year period, would that, at the end of the 3-year period, would that represent what you would think would be the new the status quo, or just in terms of travel time or whatever, or would it be advisable to extend the well testing, even if it wasn't 1 year, but, every year to extend it out?
You might want to extend it to 5, but I doubt there's any problem. The water table is relatively deep. It's 9 feet, and the soils are not that good. They're hard packed. Even though we got a good, decent perk, they're hard packed soil, and the water doesn't travel through it very readily.
Do you know how deep the well is? The well?
You remember?
Probably 100 something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it was probably the second well. Well, what happened is, this is my guess.
Yeah.
I'm just guessing, but in 1960, when they put the second house on top there, because the original well was down by the water, they built a pump house, and I think so that well is pretty to feed the both houses,
Right.
and it's never been a problem. And I think we've got about 110 or something like that. That I had to replace one time with and I remember that was. Well,
Yeah.
that just seems to be the
Yeah.
record. I mean, I don't really have a record of it. But,
Right. I mean, just to say, part of it is my, non-professional understanding is that when you pump a well, it creates this cone of
influence.
drawdown.
Right.
So it's not, and that's kind of that's why I think the distance becomes important, because what's coming into the groundwater is the leachate from the leach field, the contaminated part, and the well, because it's really pumping for 6 houses. I don't know what the gallon per minute well, is, how big, but, and it's like a suction. It's just sucking the water around it, and with only 50 feet, it just makes me a little nervous. I mean, you're going to have to drink it, so. And you're asking for a variance, so my inclination might be to extend the test period out, even if it was, to 5 years, just as
the cones of confluence, they call that.
the confluence, yeah.
That's achieved in gravel-packed wells.
Okay.
The state's famous for that because all the wells down the Cape and through Lakeville and all that are gravel-packed well, Dartmouth.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of water coming in,
Mhm.
so the cone of confluence can be 1,000 feet from the well.
Right,
This is a ledge well, and they don't work like that.
okay, all right, well, that's good to know. Okay, yeah, that's what I was asking.
I just have a question. The protect tree to remain, is it a special tree that you want to protect and you couldn't move the SAS a little bit further away from the well?
It's a big tree, it's all I know.
Well, in terms of protecting the well, protect a tree or
I think
protect
what he
the
means,
well.
what my son meant was don't bang the tree, scar it when you're doing the work, that's what he means.
So the tree, so there's not necessarily sentimental value to this tree, it could,
The tree's huge,
okay. So
so
cost
the roots
associated.
go out and all that, so.
Okay. Well, that's a situation what,
Well, I'm not adamant about it, but if I think maybe doing some more testing,
I think that's a,
You go
Certainly.
5 years tested.
I did test it,
Yeah,
is your system gonna work?
he said I guarantee
Put him on hot
it.
seat.
I guarantee you, he's put in a brand-new system, I'm not gonna worry, I mean,
Again,
It's a
to
modern
protect-
system.
It's to protect your water supply.
I know,
That's the
but-
whole issue, is protecting your water
But-
supply.
okay. Well, then I would support that with the 5 years of testing, and I would ask for the same, add the variance, local variance request, because this is also less than 50 feet from the pond, right? This one,
Yeah,
it's 32 feet.
I don't
you
know, I
said.
haven't got a scale.
I think it's,
No.
It has to be 25.
Yeah, it's only 25, oh, yeah,
for
It's,
the
well, it says
water.
32.
32.
The
Yeah.
32 was to that contour line,
Oh,
yeah, just 32 to the contour
okay,
line.
so
Yeah.
you think it's 50
it's
feet?
50 feet, yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think Don and I put the scale on it a little while ago, it was like 48, 47 feet, 48 feet.
Yeah.
from
Well,
the-
your cover letter maybe is incorrect.
Yes, it
That's
is. It's
why.
the same, he used the same letter
Okay,
for 101.
okay.
He gave us 105 and
Because it
wants the
says it's
same letter.
less than 25 feet from the
Yeah,
surface
no,
water.
but it's-
But-
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
not, it's
But it's
not.
not on the plan. Okay, fine. I'll take that back.
It's not.
Okay.
One more, you wanna save that
Gonna do
well?
5 years.
You wanna save that well?
I could,
You might wanna save this abandoned well for irrigation.
Okay.
Okay. So you have to unabandon, what do you have to do to unabandon a well?
Unabandoned it, it's not decommissioned, so.
It's not
It's
decommissioned,
just abandoned, so if it's just for irrigation purposes,
yeah.
nothing.
Something we'll deal with in our
Yeah.
well regulation. when we get
yeah,
there.
we were talking about that before,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, right.
Okay.
At least I get the inside on that a little more.
Okay, so this would require same kinds of conditions, hold on, was bedroom, a deed restriction because it's 5
Mhm.
bedrooms on a small
Yeah.
lot.
Mhm.
Concon,
Mhm.
the LUA for the cesspool, I mean, the system to the well, and 5 years of water testing, I
Right.
believe is what we
Okay.
agreed. Okay, somebody want to make that motion?
I can do that. So I move to approve the plans for Donald DeSante at 105 Plymouth Boulevard, a 5-bedroom repair on a plan dated 5/28/24, subject to Conservation Commission approval, a 5-bedroom deed restriction, local upgrade approval, variance, reducing the setback between the well and the SAS from 100 feet to 51 feet, a hold harmless agreement, and 5 years of well testing.
Okay, second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
You want to ask them about the variance?
Yes, oh, thank you for reminding me. We approved a director-approved plan at 237-1 Gifford Road.
Yes.
And Matt told me there's a complicated history there, but we had it in our database that it was a shared system between the two properties.
Yes,
And
yes.
so can you just clarify what
Yes, I can.
exactly is
Yes,
there?
Okay.
And that the other system is okay? Because I understand now that really there are going to be two separate systems.
There are going to be two separate systems. The condo project was subdivided, if you want to call it that, into two areas of use. And the owner, the original owner, owns the house on the north side. And that's where the new septic system went in back in the 90s, I guess it was.
Okay.
And two tanks were installed and tied into the leaching field. The owner was not happy, the original owner was not happy about tying the southern half of the house into that leaching field. So when I went up there to did exploratories, the septic tank that was provided for 237-1 is under the deck. Difficult to hook up. So you'd have to tear the deck out, which the owner wouldn't be happy with, or to put a new tank in, which he still wouldn't be happy. They got a court order allowing us to do the work within 1 week.
Oh, okay.
So I said, this ain't worth it. Just put a system on your own piece, and that's the end of it.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that
It's a
explanation.
hard,
I
it's a
appreciate
hard
that.
case.
Okay.
This will solve the problem.
Okay, great. Well, we did approve it. I was trying to reconcile what our history said
No,
versus.
you're right.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you very much.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you. Thank-
Okay, we're calling the 4:50 PM discussion, William Smith for Sally Brayton. This is a lot on Macumber Lane. Map 89, lot 113. For, let Mr. Smith just present.
Good afternoon.
Are you Sally Brayton?
Pardon?
No, okay, please introduce yourselves.
I am Barbara Humphrey.
Okay.
My husband Peter and I are looking to build a house on this property that belongs to Sally Brayton.
Okay,
A smallish, very, not shingle style home.
okay, thank you.
I'm Roswell Underwood. My aunt is Sally Underwood, the seller, and I've been assisting her with working with the Humphreys, and I'm familiar with the property. My great uncle developed it and all the other properties around it years ago. Just here to answer questions on Sally's behalf.
Okay, great, thank you very much.
Thank you for meeting with us. As said, Barbara and Peter Humphrey are interested in purchasing the property. Sally Brayton is the owner. We had done a septic design back in 2017 that was approved and is now since expired. A copy of that was provided just for reference purposes to help our discussion. And the property is approximately 25,000 square feet, just under 25,000 square feet. It's on Macumber Lane and River Road. We're well outside the conservation jurisdiction. The original 2017 plan did not have any denitrification, where we will propose that as required under the four recent ordinances. The Humphreys would like to build a house on the property. I met with Matt. He generously gave me some time a week or so ago, and one of the things that we picked up on is that your ordinance does not allow construction in a AE or velocity zone. Slightly different than DEP's definition, but that being said, there's essentially no part of the property that's not within the AE or the VE zone. Predominantly, it's AE, which is not subjected to crashing waves and that sort of thing. And we will have to come in for variance for that. We just wanted to get a sense from the board, again, as the Humphreys are going to spend a significant amount of money to purchase the property, we would like to make sure that they're able to construct on it. This was designed as a two-bedroom home, again, without denitrification, on the 25,000 square foot lot. With the denitrification, we're allowed to push that a little bit. We'd like to go with a three-bedroom home. Originally, it was going to be a two-bedroom home plus a garage with a studio, art studio above it with plumbing. It was, that could easily turn into an accessory apartment, and the advice I got from Matt was, let's try for the three-bedroom. So that's laying the cards on the table, and that's what we'd like to do, and wanted to get a sense from the board if that seemed reasonable. I know you don't have a plan in front of you, an application to approve, but just wanted to get a sense as to if that appears workable. Again, neighbors have to be notified and that sort of thing, but.
The garage would be attached.
Yeah, so-
And I'm a painter, so I would have a studio up above the garage. And I need a sink and a toilet, so, okay.
And we would hope that we'd be able to use the manifest justice clause, because technically, nothing could be built on the property if strict adherence to the regulation were followed.
Okay, thank you. Let me turn to Matt for any comments you have.
I think Bill's description is very thorough, and, with our local regulation, with the different zones and restrictions we have, it makes it difficult for a number of reasons, and that's why I asked them to come before the board to have this discussion, so, I don't know if you guys want to.
Okay. I'll open it up to board members for questions and comments.
Yeah, well, the fact that the property, that you couldn't construct a house or construct a septic system on the property consistent with the regulation kind of falls into that category of depriving the property owner of substantial use of the property by regulation, which us regulators are not allowed to do, kind of. So, so I think we have to have some flexibility about that end of it.
Well, part of my issue was the square footage and the number of bedrooms, and, but, in speaking with Matt, he said if he did support that if it was a nitrogen-reducing system, that would allow for that change. But I was focusing on it maintaining a two-bedroom status.
There's one other variable that I identified when I looked on the GIS map, which is almost entirely in an IWPA, which is an
Interim wellhead protection
area. So there's a public water supply within that. You heard us earlier talking about that cone of influence, because public
Right.
I'm
water
a member
supplies-
of that system, so I know it very
Yeah,
well.
so because it's a bigger system, it has a wider cone of influence, if you will. That's something, that's a concern.
They're in the process of finding a new location for that wellhead, as we speak, over the last 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 15, 20 years. Or so.
I've heard that is problematic.
Ongoing.
Yes, we've heard on and off. But it is another variable that should be incorporated in any variance. I mean, I don't know if there's anything on, we don't call that out in our local regulation, but does Title V say anything about IWPA that we should be cognizant of?
I'd have to look, but I just know from dealing with another property, 5, 6 years ago, that I have to check with, and see what the current IWPA is allowed, and see if we can handle another 2 or 3 bedroom home added to the system.
So we're proposing to add our own well.
Oh, you're gonna add your own?
Yeah, at this
No,
point,
I mean-
because, but I think in terms of proximity to that public well.
Right.
um,
You have to look and see how big the radius is, and just make sure that whatever they're gonna do is not gonna impact that radius at all from that well.
Well, when I looked on the GIS map, which of course is not necessarily 100% accurate, the orange was like pretty much, there was one little corner that was not,
In the,
and almost the entire property's in the IWPA. At least according to the GIS map. That's just, I would say that needs something to be
Okay.
researched.
yeah, I would suggest reaching out to DEP on that one.
And so all the septic system components are, none of them are in the velocity zone, but they're all in the...
No, it's all in the A
Yeah,
zone.
okay.
Yes.
All right, in the A zone, okay, so that's good. I mean, I don't know that there's, when we've been in different contexts talking about the system components being in the VE zone, or like I said, particularly the septic tank, we have, this is also directed, to Matt, I mean, talking about, are there ways either that you would have a requirement, let's say in the event of, you knew that there was a named storm coming or a major event, that you would arrange to have the system pumped just in order to prevent the situation where in the velocity zone, the intensity of the storm could compromise the tank and release the contents of the tank to the environment. I don't know if that's the same thing in a flood zone.
It's not, but can I just ask, is the house gonna be raised?
Yes, it would have to be.
So the tank would have to be raised in this case.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is new construction. Oh, so you mean FEMA would require the tank to be raised too?
No, I believe it's,
Regulations?
in the regulations, the tank has to be raised either horizontally or vertically.
Well, Title V doesn't, the Title V restrictions are for the velocity zone. I don't believe
I
that.
thought it was for the A zone too.
I think not. It's 214. Because I think that is the thing that we added.
Okay.
That we added the restriction to include the flood zone. And
The 214?
no, I got that wrong?
Nitrogen sensitive area.
213, construction and velocity zone.
Yeah,
Floodways.
213, yeah, it's 213, yeah. That's the one that,
So, no septic tank, humus composting toilet shall be constructed in a V zone, on a coastal beach, barrier beach, or dune, or in a regulatory floodway,
yeah,
except a tank that replaces a tank. in
yeah, so it really doesn't apply to new, yeah, so these, but it also says you can't construct, yeah, so these provisions relate to repairs, and then I think you'd have to go to a different provision, but I don't think they've, well, as you were saying, there's a lot of systems that are constructed in flood, I don't think there's the requirement to raise the tank.
Well, wouldn't it be that it's telling that you can't do it, right?
It says you can't be constructed.
But so it applies to new construction in the terms of this, that you just can't do it. And then it jumps into the repair part, except if there's a tank that's been in existence since 95.
Right.
That
But I don't
refers to the
think
V
it,
zone,
I don't
right?
think it's in
And
an
no
A,
regulatory
I don't think it's in
Right,
an
but not
AE
the AE
zone.
zone.
And although I'm not, I don't think it's in an AE zone. And the regulatory floodway is it's a very special designation that I've never really, the channel of a river or other water course or adjacent land areas that must be reserved in order to discharge the base flood without cumulatively increasing the water surface. So I don't think it's a regulatory floodway.
But it's in
This-
V zone. The V zone is defined by FEMA.
Yeah, but the system is not
Permits.
being installed in the V zone.
I think your local ordinance supersedes that and includes the A zone in the
That's what I'm
prohibition.
saying.
Yeah.
So I'm saying you don't, I don't, that it's, now, I guess there are the provisions that we have there, I think overlap with that, and so there is,
This house is at 20.
but,
So that, we define a flood zone flooded by a 100-year storm or the magnitude of
Yeah.
a storm that is greatest to be expected every 100 years, except for they said now say every, all those 100-year storms had
Every year.
And we added the A zone to our location.
right, and it was, yes, exactly. But,
So, so the question is, you're going to be seeking a variance from our local regulation based on manifest injustice. The question is, I think there's two questions. Well, there's three. One is there any impact of the IWPA and what conditions we might have to impose based on that? There's the septic tank elevation consideration, whether that's, I don't know, I'm not an engineer.
So I know the tank will be ballasted so that it won't float. It'll have watertight covers on it so that it won't be susceptible for water to get in it. That would be both the tank and the pretreatment system.
Okay, so then, so elevation is not really what you're looking for here, but I think the idea about requiring pumping prior to an anticipated 10-year storm, 100-year storm, whatever we call them, might be a way to manage that. Ballasting.
Okay, I just, if a repair, in a repair situation,
Yeah.
and you're gonna replace a tank, and it says if you can raise it out of
right,
the zone,
concrete, yeah,
why wouldn't you do it for new construction?
Okay,
Right.
but he's, okay.
So-
I'm not an engineer,
So-
can you do it?
well, it's a feasibility question.
If it's possible to do it,
It's
I would-
feasible,
if it's feasible to do it, why wouldn't we
yeah,
Okay,
do it?
so that's a question for Mr. Smith to pursue.
yeah.
Anything else that he should be exploring as part of this variance request?
You said there were three questions, I only wrote down two.
IWPA,
Yeah.
elevation,
Mhm.
oh, bedroom size. If the intention is just to have the art studio, then maybe a two-bedroom. It was originally planned to be 2 bedrooms. It sounds like it's still 2 bedrooms with an art studio, with plumbing for the art
Shower
studio.
and,
Yeah. So, restriction to 2 bedrooms, that's not a bedroom currently.
Okay.
That might be something.
I thought the intention was to build a 3-bedroom house with the art studio.
Well, they would like 2 bedrooms. We had the art studio above the garage. It looked, you know, it could become an accessory apartment, or, you know, something along those lines. So the thought was, well, let's just do it for the 3 bedrooms. I think that you know, the plans I saw are 2 bedrooms. I think we'd like to make the system big enough to handle 3 if
Well,
even if it's only 2 in the house, it'll give us
Right.
less of a hydraulic loading, and we'll be 100 feet away from any wells. I guess a lot of that will depend on what we fall into that public well radius too, and how we
Yeah.
have to deal with that.
Right. Okay. Well, it sounds like the intention is for the 3-bedroom design, I think would be fine, but it might be a 2-bedroom deed restriction, just to keep it unstressed. The
Okay,
system.
okay. All right.
I-
There is a 2-bedroom deed restriction on record right now
Okay.
that was prepared as part of this.
Okay.
So
There will need to be no further change.
Okay, I'll just have to talk to my clients about refining that number.
And that's, That's not a given, that's just a
Mhm.
floating out there as part of
Sure.
putting everything, all the cards on the table, kind of for consideration for you.
Yep,
figuring
thank
out
you.
what your best foot forward will be. Any other considerations they should be thinking about?
No, I don't think so.
Any further questions you have for us?
I think that gives us some direction, and we can go to the next step and try and get back to you
Well, let's hope. that
very near
there's,
future.
Significant
I'll-
change in the climate that will make us more vulnerable.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, yeah.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for coming forward and asking before you do.
It's easier to,
Yeah.
We look on it more favorably when you ask before you leave and do something.
We'd rather say yes than no, you know?
Thank you. Okay, so we did the working meeting dates. Any other topics for the next regular meeting, unanticipated topics, or then we can move straight into adjournment?
I can't think of any.
Okay,
Yeah.
All right, then, being there no other business, I move that we adjourn this meeting at 5:26 PM.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good night.